Dad History.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Dad Bod History. I'm Jake. We got Eric and Jeff tonight. We're doing a little Dad Bod After Dark, family vacations.
After dark.
Yeah, all right.
And travels, right? Just travels.
And travels,
Yeah.
yep. When you did your walkabout Europe or, Roomspringa, whatever you want. Yeah, it's when the Amish go crazy. Everybody knows this, Eric.
Well,
there's like an episode of Bones about this. Come on.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about family vacations, or travels or anything like that. Keeping it kind of light. But before we do that, how was your weekend? How was your week, guys?
So I shared a picture on Instagram. Probably took it on Thursday, maybe on Friday. I had a student went over to his desk and I saw he had these pencils and they were whittled down to the eraser. And at the edge of the eraser kind of casing, I guess, immediately went to like the sharpened point of the pencil. He had 3 of these at his desk. So I took them, put them on an empty desk and took a picture of it. And basically said, this is how teachers feel at this moment, right before spring break.
I saw that picture. It never occurred to me that those were actual pencils from one of your students. That was too perfect.
Yeah, I thought you stole it from Pinterest or something.
No,
I'll be honest.
My picture.
Okay.
So, but yeah, last day was Thursday, and then we had teacher in service on Friday, which was good. But it was yesterday at home. Our kids were going absolutely bonkers, and so I said to my wife, "Is spring break over yet?" But.
So you can't win for losing, huh?
Yeah.
Eric, that's a really nice baseball tee you got there. What is that?
Oh.
Dad Bod swag!
Really nice.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah. Feels nice and light. The baseball tee. I'm excited.
So we saw that on Instagram. You posted it with your wife there, and it was a really great photo of you two. And my daughter sees it and she goes, does Uncle Eric have a girlfriend? I'm like, yeah, that's his girlfriend of 20 years or so. I saw that
picture, and maybe I'm partial, but I showed it to my wife and I said, you're pretty hot in this picture. Like, I kind of want to use this as marketing, but then I kind of don't like.
Well, I mean, our faces aren't selling anything. So
apparently not.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
So yeah, that's cool, man. How about you, Jeff?
Hey, in my world, it's a girl. So Lillian is pregnant. She's had a gender reveal. In classic Lillian fashion, those of you who know her, and you both do, you taught her in school. She is the worst secret keeper ever. So my birthday is November 24th. If she gets me a gift on the 11th, I'm getting that gift on the 11th. There's no way around that. There's 0% chance it's making it the next 2 weeks to the 24th. So, they had it all set up where the gender of the child was going to be emailed to her friend. Her friend would stuff the appropriate color inside of the black balloon and it would pop. But they sent the email to Lillian instead. She knew before the gender reveal. She told the father, she told me, all of her siblings, her mother, everybody. I'm watching this gender reveal on Facebook Live, and it was really anticlimactic. And the more I think about it, there's a solid 85% chance that everybody at that party already knew the baby's gender. So
it just became a Zoom call. That's really all. It just ended up being just a party, not a gender reveal, just a party. That's okay.
And she threw a great party. There's lots of pink and blue cookies and treats and beverages. And her Pinterest game is strong, irrespective of her inability to keep a secret. So
the last gender reveal party I was at, somebody was wearing a shirt. The dad was wearing a shirt that said, "I'm just here for the sex." And that was pretty clever.
Oh man.
Whoa, Jeff. Hey.
All right. Now it's a party. So, it's funny.
Texas?
This makes me ask, what did you guys do when you found out the sex of your baby? Did you, I think me and my wife, and I think we just posted it on Facebook. It's a boy, or it's a girl. And that was it. We didn't do anything after we found out. We didn't do anything special.
It was pre-social media for me. So I called my parents and 3 other people, and that was it. And I feel like people cared a lot less back then. And don't get me wrong, I'm not grumpy old man in this thing. The gender reveal is pretty cool. I've seen some cool ones. In hindsight, I do wish I hadn't known what Lillian was going to have. So it would have been a lot more exciting, but it wasn't that long ago where it's just oh boy, that's cool. All right.
Didn't one of those parties start the California wildfires a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And I'm being,
it did. It was
some
last
tannerite
year
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use tannerite at a gender reveal?
Yeah.
Well, there was a gender reveal party recently, I think in California, where they used explosive and it killed one of the parents.
Seriously?
There was some,
my God.
Well, anyways, for our first 2, I think we found out and kind of announced on Facebook or something. For the third, he kind of came after the gender reveal thing became a thing. And so we took the stuff. We went to a cake company. They make bundt cakes. And so they hid.
It's a bundt
cake, bundt. And they put the gender thing in the inside of the bundt. And so I remember it was just us at home, right? We didn't have anyone else. I think my parents were on a FaceTime call with us or something. And my daughter and my son, we kind of opened up the bundt cake, and there inside was some blue stuff and whatever. And I remember my son, my middle one, he was just kind of cake. And my daughter, just disappointment just washed over her as she realized she was not having a sister. She's just
so your parents just watched you guys eat cake. That was your gender reveal. That's awesome.
And then what we did at work is we basically said, is it a boy? Is it a girl? And we already knew at that point. And then it's a boy. And I'm like, why'd we do this? This was a waste of my time and everyone else's time. We could have just said it's a boy.
One thing I love about you, Eric, is you're a lover of fanfare and celebration. So you really go all out. All right. Well, here's a fun fact for Jake. When the doctor did the little x-ray or whatever to see if I was a boy or a girl, he thought I was a girl. So my mom and dad.
If he had done a sonogram, maybe he would have found.
Yeah, they shouldn't have x-rayed my mom. That's other problems. But so when my mom and dad spent months trying to find a name for me, and out came a boy.
So we did an x-ray. You have a cavity.
Yeah. Did an x-ray. Your femur's broken. Sorry. You're also pregnant. So congratulations. Anyway, there you go. All right. Do you guys want to get into this? Family vacations?
Jump in.
So I have no real organization other than the idea of talking about, family vacations I had when I was a kid. I have a few that I remember and that were really notable. And or if you have a family vacation that you've done with your kids. And I think, and we don't have to leave it to just family vacations. I mean, there's, other vacations you did with your friends or trips you did or anything like that. But when I start with family vacations, I can kick us off if you want. Does that work?
Please.
All right. So the first one is my first vacation, or at least the first one I remember. I was about 6 years old, and I was living with my mom, and my grandma and grandpa had helped kind of take care of me when my mom was at work. And so when I was 6, me, my mom, and my grandma flew to Florida, and we went to Disney World. So this is probably 87, 88. And you know, it was what the happiest place on earth. We went to Epcot Center, all that. But there's a few things that happen on this trip, things that I remember that I think will be with me forever. The first one was we got to the hotel, and I don't know if it was the first day or the second day, but we got to the hotel and I was in the hotel room with my mom and my grandma, and my mom and my grandma like left to go get ice from the ice machine or went down to the vending machines. I don't know what it was, but when they were gone, I decided to leave the hotel room, and I just started wandering around the hotel, and I couldn't find my way back to my room. So I got lost in the hotel, and eventually my mom and grandma.
Same thing happened to you at your wedding.
Yeah, well, I have a habit of getting lost in hotels. They all the rooms. And so my mom and grandma get back to the room, and obviously I'm not there. So they're freaking out. So they call security, and I'm crying like in the middle of a hallway next to the vending machine, and can't find my room. And eventually I think it was like a lady who does the housekeeping or the cleaning found me, and then they helped reunite me with my mom. But that was my opening salvo into my Disney vacation. And then the next two things that stuck out. Well, one, I met Pluto. So that was a big deal. He was my favorite Disney character back in the day. But then we went to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which was like this raft that you were on, and you saw like the animatronic pirates. This is before the movies came out and what the movies are based on. And we were on the raft, and it was way too packed, and it started sinking while we were going through the ride. And it's like water's like pouring over, and like this is not supposed to happen. And it got
it's not
real.
Like it was the first day it was open. This is amazing.
No, I know. Yeah. I mean, then the gator came out and snatched one of us. No, but like it was legit scary. And I didn't know to be scared until I saw all the other adults being real nervous. And then I got scared because I was just a stupid 6-year-old. So that's thing number 2 from Disney. And then my third event from Disney was Space Mountain, which was the big roller coaster ride at Disney. And I was like, I want to go on this. I want to do this, Mom. And so we went to the thing, measured to see if I was tall enough. I was. And so we got in the line, and it was like a 2-hour line. And she's like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yes, I do. And so we're getting closer. And then there's this moment, and it literally is like, you cannot turn back after you pass this red line. Like there is no turning back. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, let's do this. And then we go back. The second I cross that line, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. She's like, you don't have a choice now. Like, and so she's like, I'm bawling as we're getting closer and closer, and I'm seeing people and disappear into the darkness. And she's like, I'm like, I don't want to do this. And she's like, you got to do it now. And she forced me on. Down came the bar and held me in, and I just screamed and cried the whole time. And I got done. I was sobbing, and take a picture. I'm like, snot's coming down my face. And yeah, it was awesome. And so maybe that's why I'm a little partial against Disney. Like people are like, let's go to Disney. It's awesome. Maybe I have this 30-year-old trauma from the first time I went. I'm like, nah, Disney can't be that good.
Yeah, you're still not ready to forgive.
So, but that was my first vacation, and I remember it almost as if it were yesterday because of those really 3 not ideal events.
So I didn't have this written down for one of my stories, but you made me think of going back to earliest memories. And my dad lived in Colorado, and I lived in California, but I would go to Colorado a lot during the winter, and Dad skied a lot. So we would go up and go skiing, and we were up skiing this one year. And, but, my dad would put me in ski school, and at the end of ski school, they would kind of hang on to the kids in this sort of quasi daycare thing until the parents came and picked them up. And I had a pair of overalls on, and overalls have those snaps where the shoulders come down to the snap button, and they're relatively unique. To the best of my knowledge, those only exist in a pair of overalls. Nowhere else in my wardrobe or life do those exist. Well, as a 5-year-old, they were hopelessly challenging. So I'm there. I got a number 2 coming up, and I go to the bathroom, and I'm really trying my darndest to get these things undone. I can't do it. I fill my pants. I just go back to the daycare center and I just lay down in the middle of the room. And to hear my dad tell the story years later, he's like, I get back. There's all these kids losing their mind, running around this room going crazy, and you're just laying there. And I come in and he's like, son, what's going on? Are you okay? You're like, I'm okay. We ready to go? So yeah, we're ready to go. Okay, so we get out of there. We get in there. So now we're in the car and we're heading home from probably Loveland, Colorado, or somewhere in Summit County. And it's about a 2-hour drive to get back down to where dad lives. And the heater's on and everybody in the car starting like,
you smell something?
Does anybody smell anything? I'm like, nope. I'm gonna deny it until I read it in the paper. I had no idea what smell. I don't smell anything. Of course, it becomes apparent really quick what's happened. I've got, a hot mess in my overalls that I can't get off. And then there's this final image of my stepmother. She's got my underwear on a stick and she's holding it in the toilet instead of just throwing it away. It's one pair of underwear. Get rid of it. She's got it on a stick in the toilet. She's just flushing the toilet, but holding the underwear on the stick so it doesn't go down the toilet. And that was how she tried to deal with it until my dad came in and was like, hey, just throw it away. We can buy more underwear here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, oddly enough, that is one of my earliest memories is, in a hot car with a hot load in my pants.
I love it that you just committed to the lie. You just believed it. That's awesome.
That was my MO until well into my 30s. Yeah. I'm just sticking with it. Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah. So a lot of my family vacations had to do with going to either New York, where my dad is from, Orange County, New York, or outside of Minneapolis, where my mom is from. Again, both from small towns, agricultural areas. My dad grew up on a farm. My mom grew up in this town called Waverly that basically is just the houses around a lake named Waverly. So it was either going out to the country in New York and hanging out with my grandparents, or going to Minnesota. And in Minnesota, we'd go out to this cabin that was in the family. And it was a kind of cabin that would, a nice log cabin right on the lake, but there was no toilet inside, right? This was an old cabin. Jake, you kind of know the type. So there's an outhouse, right? And so I'd go out to this outhouse. And I remember, again, this was when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And go out to the outhouse and you'd shut the door and there was enough light coming in, but there was this article on the back of the door that talked about this monster that lived underneath you in the outhouse, and how, last year 4 children were lost going to the outhouse. And thinking back on it, I'm like, why would you put that in an outhouse? I get that it's humor. But there's a lot of kids in this family. They're 6, 7, 8 years old or younger.
They can read.
Even when I went out there, like most recently, I think, what was that? 8 or 9 years ago. Probably about 7 years ago, actually. Going out to that outhouse, I just was uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, this creeps me out. Just thinking that there's something down there that is gonna come right up and grab me and pull me down. But my uncle also had a house down the way on the lake, and he would take us fishing. And for the longest time, he kept calling me Rookie. And I got really irritated by this. And I was walking back, and my mom says, how was fishing with your uncle today? I said, it was terrible. It was awful. She said, why? He kept calling me names. Well, what do you call you? Rookie. I don't want him calling me Rookie anymore. She says, do you know what Rookie is? I'm like, no, I don't like it. Well, it's somebody who's new at something. And, then the embarrassment sets in, right? Like, oh, I was so dumb. I didn't know this word. And
yeah.
But, we go out in the lake, and then you catch some fish, you catch some small fish, and then you take them and you smack their heads on a rock, and then you slice them up. And it's good eating, but not the kind of life for me, a city boy. So But those are my earliest memories, of going out to these places out in the country and seeing wildlife and deer and going fishing and being on a lake and all that kind of stuff. You go in the lake, you come out and there'd be leeches on your legs and I'd panic and freak out. Good stuff like that.
Yeah.
The terrors of childhood.
Yeah, it's rough stuff.
Jake, did you grow up in a yurt in the woods with no toilet indoors? Because Eric just totally assumed like this place had no indoor plumbing. Jake, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we get it. Yeah, we had to heat the house with the cattle dung. We did what we did to survive. But
I was referring to your cabin.
So, I know, and that rustic is being generous with that thing. Although it's funny. So today, we took our kids to Antelope Island, which is in the middle of the Salt Lake. There's a causeway drive over to get to, and ironically, very few antelope, tons of bison. So the naming, they got to work on that. But we walked up to this homestead, this old ruins of a homestead, and they have these signs and explaining like how they lived. And like, since just like my daughter, she's like, where's the house? Like, and where would you put the food? And we had to explain, like, you do everything by hand. And there's all these bison piles of poop. And we go, and sometimes when there aren't trees, like on this island, you would have to burn animal poop to heat the house. And she goes, that's disgusting. Like, it is disgusting, but that's what you got to do to survive sometimes. So they didn't have many options in the 1890s.
How the West was won, sweetheart.
Yeah. Awesome trip though. Totally. It was a great day trip. Really cool. So that was another thing we did this weekend. Jeff, I don't know if you actually gave your first family vacation because you kind of got sidetracked with the overalls, or
that was a vacation.
That was just great. That was a day
vacation. The first one that comes up for me being a dad, my youngest daughter, she for her 16th birthday, she wanted to go on a backpacking trip. And that was awesome. I love backpacking. So we decided to fly out to Portland and go up to Columbia River Gorge and go on a 4-day backpacking trip out there. And it was great. And it was awesome. But the loop that we chose started off on an area that was fairly busy and a lot of people. And then quickly we got back into, we didn't see anybody. So we're a day and a half back into this trip. We haven't seen anybody for 24 hours. It's just me and Lil, and we're out there in the middle of nowhere. And we had just completed this arduous switchback up this pretty steep grade on a abandoned or poorly maintained trail. And so anyhow, we're exhausted, we're tired, we're both a little stressed out, but anyhow, we just had a sit down and we're moving along again. And we're going through the woods, these eerily quiet woods, and we're going along. We're back on a good trail now, and right in the middle of the trail is half of a rabbit. Just half a rabbit, just laying there, and it's bison. It's not like down the long way, but I've got the back half of a rabbit just on the trail, and I'm thinking, I'm like, what's going on? Like, what is this?
That's how movies start.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I turn around to Lily and like, and I'm scanning the trees and I'm like looking. I don't know if there's a guy with a ski mask out there or the Russians or what's going on.
The Russians are known for cutting rabbits in half. That's their MO.
Hoffman.
They get those gullible Americans every time.
So I don't see anything, and I just start going like, "Hello, hello."
I like how you. I just say I like how you go immediately from "be quiet, don't let anyone know we're here" to screaming
shouting
as loud as you can.
It's I'm drinking from a fire hose on this one. I have no playbook to go from. So I turn around and look at Lily, and she's like, what are we doing? And I'm like, come up here. And she comes up. I was like, it's like half a rabbit. And she's like, why is there half a rabbit here? It's like, I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I don't know what's going on. I mean, so kind of anticlimactic end of the story. I think some animal ate a part of that rabbit, left the rest of it, couldn't finish it or something. And it just, by some insane coincidence, happened to be on this, right in the middle of this trail. But it was pretty upsetting. It spooked me pretty good. And so yeah, we camped out and we didn't get murdered. But on that trip, I planned it where we were going to take an Uber from Portland up to the trailhead. And it was, if memory serves, it was about 20, 25 miles. And then on the way back, I go to get an Uber and it's like we're in the middle of nowhere. Uber's like, hey, nice try, good work on that. So Will's like, what are we going to do? I was like, we're going to hitchhike. It's like, I'm sorry, we're what? We're going to hitchhike. She says, I don't think that's safe. I go, I've done it a ton. I agree. Probably not safe. I'm with you. Let's just go for it. She's like, all right. We're hitchhiking. I got the thumb out about 5 minutes. This couple pulls over, picks us up. We smell like the worst kind of 4-day, no shower, intense BO smell. We're in their car. They're asking us all these questions and we're answering the questions. And the woman finally goes, I made my husband pick you guys up because I thought that your daughter was in trouble. So the only reason they picked us up was they thought that I had kidnapped this little girl and she had no idea what was going on. But anyhow.
And the best way to commit a kidnapping is to hitchhike immediately after.
Her lack of logic was my gain because we got a ride straight to our hotel in Portland and it was beautiful. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Dead rabbit, first hitchhiking trip. And knowing Lillian, she's probably gone like, hitchhiking's safe, and hitchhiked 100 times since then, it's completely not safe, especially for single women. But yeah, that's a good one from mine and Lillian's past.
That's awesome. That makes me, this is going off topic. I've picked up some hitchhikers back in my 20s. Several times I would see somebody hitchhiking. Like I was on my way to a buddy's cabin in Three Lakes, Wisconsin, and I saw somebody walking and it was about to rain. I'm like, let's get you to where you need to go quicker. And I picked up some other guys, and I'll tell you what, every single one of them I've picked up it's always been a colorful story, and it's always been really, really interesting. Probably one of the best conversations you can have, assuming, that they're not crazy, but yeah, picking up hitchhikers has been really fun. I've never done it myself, but yeah, that's cool, man. I can't believe, I think I remember you telling us that after the trip that you did, but I'd totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, no, yeah, it comes down to that. And, a 4-day trip, I have some other memories, but the half a rabbit and the hitchhiking, they definitely stick out. So,
yeah.
I feel like getting a guest on the podcast would be kind of like picking up a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I agree.
So Eric and I for guests.
Eric and I had a short-lived college radio show, and one of our several episodes we did, some random caller came on and he just started talking to us for 30 minutes, and he was clearly on some sort of substance because he wasn't making any sense. And Eric and I were too new and awkward to know what to say. So we just let him keep talking. And then I think he eventually asked us to order pizza, and he wanted to come down and hang out. And we're like, no, we got to get going, but thanks for the call. And then Eric's wife calls in to the show, and she's like, you guys need to stop now.
This is over. Come home.
It was awesome.
You're done. You're just done.
Just stop. So, all right. Who's next?
So I have my question here. I'll just pose this to everybody. Is what's the worst injury you've sustained on a vacation or a trip? And so while I let you think about that, and to those of you that know me, this is not going to come as any shock or surprise. But while skiing in Jackson Hole, and I must have been 11 at the time, I've been having a great time all week. I think it was like the third or fourth day. It was Thursday or something. We had done the ski school. When you said ski school, Jeff, I was just thinking back to, we used to do a lot of ski trips as a family. And I remember the ski school thing, right? Like mom and dad are going to go have fun. you have fun on this basically flat level plane of snow, don't get hurt. We'll be back in 5 hours because we're going to go enjoy ourselves. So we had done this ski school, but I was old enough where it was like, you just do the one day and then you guys can go hit some of the blues or whatever. So we were doing all these runs, and I remember Jackson Hole from, again, this is like almost 30 years ago. We took a kind of one of the first slopes up, and coming down, there was this area between these two stands of trees, right? They had their main slope coming down, one off to the side. We kept going off to the side because they had two like big moguls. I think they're more like jumps, but we kept hitting these. We're having so much fun hitting these jumps. And this last time, whatever happened, I hit this mogul. My skis went up too high. I leaned back too far, and I just landed flat on my back. And it hurt. It hurt so bad that my friend, Trace, he was with me. I'm like, you got to go get somebody because I don't think I can move. And I was probably just being dramatic, but he skied off and got help. And they came up with the snowmobile and put me on the thing and dragged me back down, had a doctor check me out. And I had to take the next day off from skiing just because my back was all bruised up. And therefore, from that point on is, I think, where a lot of my back issues kind of started. But it's probably the worst injury that I remember sustaining on a trip. I'm just curious, what are yours?
I honestly, I was thinking I've hurt myself. I've hurt myself pretty severely, but I don't know if I've ever hurt myself on vacation. I'm really trying to remember, and I just can't think of an instance where, and like I've done a lot of camping and stuff. So like you might get a cut or a burn from the campfire or something like that, but I can't think of anything where I was like hurt. Unless we talk about your stud party and then the hangover, that was painful, but that's more of a self-inflicted wound and not an accident.
I'm not worried so much about the hangover as, that Mogollon
mess.
Mess.
Yeah.
That thing was a hefty meal.
It was a solid breakfast.
Whew.
A story that comes to mind for me, I was, I didn't actually get hurt on this, but I did almost die. It was really close. I went to go visit Bulgaria with my grandfather. This would have been about 1995, and went over there, and he funded the whole trip, and we were there for 6 weeks. And while I was there, it was a long trip, and I was seeing this girl while I was over there, and she was wildly entertaining and a lot of fun, and liked to go to discos and all this. And I also had this other guy that I knew named Peter, who was kind of my conscience, and he would try to keep me out of trouble. So anyhow, one night we're at this disco, and this girl, Desi, says, well, I want to go to the hovercraft disco down on the water. So I go, okay. So I go tell Peter, like, hey, let's go down to the hovercraft disco down on the water. And Peter goes, don't go down there. It's super dangerous and you shouldn't be there. So I go, okay. So I tell Desi, like, hey, Peter says it's really dangerous down there and we shouldn't go. And she says, well, Peter's being a baby. And that was good enough for me. So cut to, we are walking down to this
flawless Bulgarian accent, by the way.
Can we hear that again?
Well, Peter's being a baby.
We go to the discotheque now. Yeah, man. Okay.
I mean, many dancing.
Many dances.
I also like the fact that in the United States, nobody goes to a disco ever that I know of. They're bars and dance clubs, but
you go dancing, but
right,
nobody goes
but
to a disco.
everywhere else, you're at the discotheque or the disco.
Right. Continue, because I think it's about to get Liam Neeson taken. So I'm really excited.
Pretty awesome. So we're going down to this disco. So it's this hovercraft that's raised up out of the water, and it's down on the Danube. And the Danube floods all the time, and Bulgaria and their neighbor Romania, poor countries. And so the lights are all out down there. We get down there, and we get to this discotheque, and it's going off up in this boat that's lifted up out of the water. And so we walk up the stairs, and we get to the top of the stairs. Oh, and here's a little side note to the story. For some reason that to this day I can't remember, my passport is in my backpack. American passport in my backpack, 95. There's that little tidbit. So we get to the top of the stairs, And I don't speak much Bulgarian at all. I didn't then, I don't now. And we get up there and there's some, they're going back and forth and boom, this guy puts his hand on my chest. There's more arguing between Desi and these guys. She turns around and goes, just go down the stairs and wait here. I'll be back out in a minute. I should have left. I mean, right? What's this? Red flag number 6 at this point?
Yeah.
So I go down the stairs and there's these guys down at the bottom and they speak about as much English as I speak Bulgarian. But one word that they knew from the Kevin Costner movie is bodyguard. And they end up telling me that you shouldn't be here. This is dangerous, but it's okay because we'll be your bodyguard.
Oh, well, that's nice.
They're volunteering and everything.
Yeah, right about this time, Desi comes back out the front door. Jeff, come back up, come back up. I come up. As I walk past the guy who put his hand in my chest, I just get the stink eye. He's just looking at me like this as I go in. Go in there. These guys were my bodyguards. They come in with me. They sit down next to me. The one goes, all right, well, hold your backpack. I give him my backpack. He's got it on his lap. He's hunched over this thing like it's got the Mona Lisa in it. And so this boat, like the dance floor is in the middle of the boat. And then the bow of the boat, there's 2 chairs. And then behind that, there's one more chair, like as the boat comes to a point. And the guy in the chair at the point, every now and again, leans forward. He whispers something to one of the other 2 guys. And he goes off and does his bidding. I don't know what's going on, but this happens all night long. So anyhow, we're in there dancing and having fun. And so it's time to go. We go down the stairs. I've got my backpack back. I've got my arm around this girl, Desi, and we're walking down. I've got my bodyguards with us. And out of nowhere, all I hear is footsteps behind me and boom, someone jumps on my back and boom, I'm down on the ground and somebody's on top of that guy. And I'm like, God bless it, man. These guys, these are my bodyguards. I should have seen this coming. All right, my only option here is that I'm gonna flip out. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna go
Spider monkey
on this whole thing. And right as I'm about to enact my spider monkey plan, I hear a gun cock and completely chills me out. Spider monkey plan abandoned. I'm about to fill my
plan B
for my last
go
story.
boneless. Yeah,
got your coveralls on.
I'm face down on the ground, like, man, this is it. This is the end of the road. I've had a good run. This is great. Now I hear this like arguing. Like I keep waiting for someone to say something to me, but I hear all this arguing in Bulgarian. I get up and I turn around, and my bodyguards are the ones with the gun. They have the 2 other guys from the disco are now on their knees with their hands behind their head. This guy's got a gun right in my bodyguard's got a gun in this other guy's face. They're yelling back and forth at each other. The guy on the ground spits at the guy with the gun. The guy with the gun kicks this guy in the chest. Desi turns to me and she goes, run. Gone. I'm like, I run. Oh, you got to get up the hill to get up to the Sophia. And I run as fast as I can. I've never run that far, that fast in my entire life. So I get up there and I go into like the one safe place I can think of. The place we're staying is too far away. So I go into the lobby of the Hilton Hotel and I get in there and it's gone from all this insane Russian, Eastern European mafia drama to I'm in this sensibly lit lobby and CNN's going on in the corner and la, la, la. There's some nice elevator music going on. The lady at the front desk is like, hello, 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 the way they say hello in other countries. And nothing happens. I sit there for 2 hours watching CNN, and I just finally decide that's
You're waiting for the news to break on CNN.
Yeah, waiting for a tank to come in the window or assassins to drop into the lobby, and nothing ever happens. So anyway, I finally call a cab, takes me back to where Grandpa and I are staying, and later on, I would be at night in Sofia. Everybody would come out. It wasn't Sofia. It was Russe. And so in Russe, everybody would come out to the main boulevard, and they'd all be at the cafes and whatnot. And there was the cafe where all the mobster guys hung out, and man, they would lock eyes on me walking by, but that was it. I never heard anything else from them. So that was as close as I ever got to being seriously injured on a vacation, but it was really close and it was super gnarly.
Did your friend Desi ever explain anything to you?
I don't remember. That was 1995. I've slept a lot since then, so I don't remember. I just, she was cute and fun, and we continued to, see each other while I was there, and then I left, and that was it. But the best part about the story is I never got a beating from the Eastern European or Russian mafia.
So your bodyguards actually guarded your body. That's the big twist, is that they were men of their word. Like, they took care of you.
And I never saw those two dudes again. I owe them this enormous debt of gratitude. And what did they get in the middle of?
For free. They did that for nothing.
For free.
Oh, they were probably U.S. Marines or something, CIA operatives.
Yeah.
They were there like, don't let an American die on our watch. Just stick with him, would you?
Did you pay them, or did they just do this out of the like? Honestly,
we paid them with our tax dollars.
At the bottom of the stairs, when I was down there chatting with them, I was smoking while I was over there, and I gave them cigarettes. So I gave them some Marlboro cigarettes, and they're like, they liked me. So honestly, for the price of 2 or 4 cigarettes, these guys literally saved my life. And I wonder to this day, like, what did those guys have to put up? Were there any repercussions to them for their actions? I don't know, but wow. Yeah, that's one of the many stories in my life.
Yeah, like
one of the stories in my life that makes me believe in God watching out for drunks and fools. And I don't drink, so
that's amazing. Okay, well, that ends our show tonight. We don't need to talk about any other vacations after that one. Where do we continue from here?
Should have saved that question for the end.
I saw Mount Rushmore. That was cool.
I've been to Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was going to be one of my questions is what's the furthest you've been on a vacation or a trip?
I'll start because it's the least traveled. I've only ever been out of the country twice, both times to Mexico. First time was when I was in high school. My Spanish class went to Mexico, and it was awesome. It was a great trip. I mean, we flew into Mexico City, and we saw saw the sights there. We saw some of the ruins there, and then we went down towards the Yucatan. On the way, we saw the Mayan temple and the Temple of the Sun and the Moon. We saw that basketball court, right, where the losers would get their heads chopped off and would be used as a ball to put through the
Staples Center.
Is that? Yeah, it was in southern Mexico. You've heard of that, right? The ball game?
Poc to Poc, right?
Is that what it's called?
Poc to Poc, I think.
Okay. I'll believe you. I don't remember what the name of the game was. I just remember, but I was on that court. Like, it was really the whole city is really cool. And then we finished the trip down in Cancun. Second time I went to Mexico was for ill-advised triathlon with Jeff and some other friends. So I will never do that again because God help me. I am not built for long distance swimming, biking, or running, and definitely not all three put together.
And you know what? From your perspective, I don't know if you remember, but my favorite part of that whole triathlon, in fact, from any triathlon we did down there, was we're all done and we're on the beach and they're all out of the free beer, but they're starting to break down the course. And we're looking around like, there's Cameron, there's Ciola, where's Jake? Somebody seen Jake? And someone's like, Steve's like, I think he's still out there. And so I go up to the girl who's breaking everything down. I go, there's still a guy on the course. She goes, no, there isn't. I go, I think there is. You should check. She's on the course. And she's like, oh my God. So literally she comes back. They start reinflating the big thing for Jake to come through at the end. He stumbles across the finish line like he's just fell out of a spaceship. Like he got abducted a week ago and they just let him loose again.
The best part is, well, one of the best parts is that you sent Steve to go get me like a retriever. Like, Steve, go find him. And I was stumbling across a golf course, half dead. Steve comes and
brother, you came in dead last, and man, number one in my book. That was awesome.
And the medal, the beer can opener medal, looks the exact same as everyone else's. So yeah, it was awesome. It was a great trip.
That's right. That was fun.
Yeah, those are the only 2 times I've been out of countries, and both were in Mexico. So as close as I've been to Canada, living in Wisconsin, I never went up there. How about you, Eric?
Well, I've been to England and Ireland and Japan. And this question occurred to me, what's the furthest I had been? So I said London and Tokyo. London is 5,383 miles from me. Tokyo is 5,393 miles from me right now. But I went to Japan when I was right after I graduated high school. And I don't think I've been to a place it was pretty exotic to be in an Asian country. And I was there for about 10 days. And I was with a bunch of other kids. Most of them were younger than me from my church and school. So we were over there for 10 days. I think everything pales in comparison to the Bulgaria story at this point. But we went out into a park with a bunch of these kids from the school that we were visiting. So they're all like high school age kids, a bunch of boys, basically. It was all the boys that went on this particular night out. We go and they sell fireworks, on the street corner. We're all from Arizona. Nobody sells fireworks ever, right? Not in 1999. So we grabbed a bunch of fireworks and we go to this park. But it's not like a park like open fields. It's a park that's like it's got some water features, a bunch of palm trees. And some of these boys from the school there in Japan started shooting Roman candles at each other. And then they hit the palm tree. And it lights the palm tree on fire. And this, like I said, this is in the middle of a park. So there's high rises in every direction. And there's a palm tree just burning in the middle of these buildings, right? And all the lights flickering off the buildings. So me and my 2 American friends decide, in our very American way, we are going to book it and get out of there because we're not taking responsibility for this. These young Japanese boys, knowing that, hey, we're all in this together. This is our society. We're going to be cooperative. Decide, let's fill these plastic grocery bags with water from the pond and throw it on top of this palm tree.
Solid plan.
And we successfully put that fire out.
Well, you didn't.
No, I didn't. That's true.
Okay.
I think I took one toss at it. Once I realized I should stick around and help, but fire department never showed up. I was certain I was getting sent back to the United States with a one-way ticket that my parents were going to have to pay for immediately. And I was terrified of that. That was going to be a very bad moment for me. And it did not happen. So.
Okay.
What happens when you set trees on fire in other countries, Eric? They don't take kindly to such shenanigans.
It's like I'm going to get caned. I'm going to get 40 lashings or something.
Yeah, I've seen Midnight Express. I know how this is.
But it was all good in the end. We put the fire out.
Is Bulgaria the farthest you've ever been afield? Yeah.
I just did a little math to see if it was Papua New Guinea or South Africa. I think South Africa is the furthest at 10,100 miles from LAX. So went down there, went hunting with Clifford. Doing anything with Cliff internationally is fantastic. I cannot recommend it highly enough. That's a whole other podcast. But yeah, South Africa, I mean, it's what, a 14-hour flight to Heathrow and then another 14-hour flight down to Johannesburg. So that's the furthest I've been by far.
Okay. All right. Let's I don't know what to do. I don't want to do this.
What's the best food you've had while traveling?
I was afraid you were going to ask me this question. And the best food I've ever had was not traveling, but was with Jeff at Maestro's. So I can't think of any food that compares, but I will say this, a food related story. when I was about 10, maybe 11, me and my dad and my stepmom went to visit my stepmom's brother in Colorado, in Denver, in the winter. And we went there skiing. And I think one of the places we went to was Winter Park. And another one might have been Cascade Mountain or something like that. But and I had skied before in Wisconsin, but there's Wisconsin skiing and Colorado skiing are two different leagues in what they define as easy, difficult, or otherwise. And it was awesome. It was a great trip. And I remember one time we were at one of the nights, we were at an Italian restaurant, and it may have been the Spaghetti Factory. Like, honestly, it might have just been one of those chains. I don't know. It was really good. But I do remember we were there and we were eating dinner with her brother and her brother's wife, and it was all fancy and nice. And all of a sudden I go to my dad, I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom now. And he's like, okay. And so he starts taking me to the bathroom, and as halfway to the bathroom, I just void my contents of my stomach all over the floor of the Spaghetti Factory. And then I hightail it into the bathroom in shame for the next 36 minutes. And it was awful. Apparently that's how I found out what altitude sickness was, because I was fine. I was skiing the whole day. I felt great. And then all of a sudden it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and out came everything. But before that, Eric, the food was fantastic. So
it's good.
And then also, side note, I saw a Packers game in Denver while I was there, and it was Don the Magic Man Mikowski versus John Elway in the Orange Crush. And this was before they'd done the new design. And
so it was still snowing profusely.
It was so cold and it was so snowy. And the Packers
too. Yeah.
might have. Were you? Oh, yeah. I should have said hi. Yeah. Man. Yeah, I think the Packers maybe scored 7 points. They were terrible. And
no, in fact, I think Denver was up 14-0 before they even had a snap on offense. There was some weird stuff that happened, like Denver scored a special teams touchdown and then a defensive touchdown. And so it was over early. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was awesome. I think it was my first professional game that wasn't a preseason game that I'd ever seen. It was in Denver. It was awesome. Right, it was a great trip overall. I've never been, aside from getting sick, it was probably my favorite vacations ever.
Right on. Easily for me, my best meal traveling was we took a family trip down to Belize and went out to Ambergris Key, and this guy took us out to go like spear fishing and fishing for stuff, and we speared, I don't know, a couple barracuda and a couple of lobsters, and then he drove us up the key in the boat, maybe, I don't know, 10 miles or so, and pulled us over to this place where there were hammocks and like half of an oil drum opened up with a grate, and they cooked all this fish on the open fire, and his wife had made these homemade tortillas, and they climbed up in the trees and got coconuts and cracked them open and loaded them up with brown sugar and put them on the grill. And anyhow, that stands out as arguably one of the best meals of my life. That was wonderful.
Now I'm really hungry. It's like 11 o'clock at night and I'm starving now. Eric, what about you?
So when I was in Japan, I really enjoyed eating, having the sushi there. I like their little fast food style sushi, right? It's on like boats or little conveyor belts. And you've seen some of that in the United States, and it was just so easy and quick. And it's not like a novelty there, right? It was good. You could have as much as you wanted. You paid by the plate. It was fantastic. That was good. And I enjoyed it. Not my favorite meal. I've been to Ireland. I've had Irish stew, like lamb stew. Absolutely fantastic. Still not my favorite meal. For some reason, the meal that sticks out to me the most is when I was in London, and this was in 1998. I was 16 at the time, and I wasn't with my family. I was with another family. So we were staying in a hotel in London down the street from Buckingham Palace. Like we could walk to Buckingham Palace from there. And we went to this restaurant within walking distance. Remember, it was a steakhouse. So I've been to, and I think it's closed now, the steakhouse that was on Mill Avenue in Tempe.
Mondi's?
La Casa Vieja, right? Mm-hmm. I've been there before, and I've had steak, but the first time I remember like ever ordering a steak was in London. And it was in this restaurant. I remember I'm looking through the menu and I see on the list a steak, and it's called the Arizona steak. I'm like, okay, what is this? So I look at it and I'm just like, well, I'm going to have that. Like, I want to see what they think of Arizona steak. So they bring this steak out and they're like, do you want blue cheese with that? And I'm like, that's disgusting. Blue cheese is awful. It's mold. Like it's blue. No. And my uncle, not a real uncle, but like my godfather, he's there and he's like, no, you want the blue cheese. Give him the blue cheese. I'm like, okay. He says, just put the blue cheese on the steak for him. So they did. So they brought it out and the blue cheese is melting on the steak. And I cut into the steak and it's kind of like medium rare, something that I was like, no, I wanted to order it well done. And they told me, no, we're not allowing that. So I take my bite into this, medium rare steak with blue cheese on it. Absolutely loved it. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever tasted. So the next time I was back in Arizona, I went to Monty's when I was back in Arizona, the next time we went to Monty's, I looked in the menu and I'm like, can I get that with blue cheese? It was like somebody from London had been to Monty's and was like, putting blue cheese on this stuff from here on out. But it was amazing. It was a great meal.
And it sounds delicious. I don't know what any of that has to do with Arizona.
I have no idea either, unless for some reason it's like a Monty's thing, which I doubt it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what set that aside from the other steaks on their menu.
Yeah. I mean, but it does sound
But it
awesome.
stuck in my head and it was a fantastic meal.
Okay.
Arizona, not really known for its steak or its blue cheese, but here we are.
Yeah.
It works.
So anyways, I'm really hungry right now. Like,
yeah. You just want to order pizza or something?
Well, after 10, I want to order pizza with blue cheese on it.
Right.
So when I was going through this, one of the first stories that I came up with, this is a true dad bod family story. It's a pretty short one, but we took our first cruise together as a family. And it was on Carnival Cruise Lines. And the reason we did that was we heard they were really good for kids. And sure enough, so we get on there and they're like, hey, you want to sign your kids up for daycare? And it seemed like kind of a jerk move to go on a cruise and put my kids into daycare. They're going to like be in some like sub room on this boat with a box of broken crayons.
That's right.
Doing nothing down there. And like, I don't know, but everybody assured me like, no, the kids have a great time. It's like, all right, we signed them up and put them in there. And anyhow,
your son broke out, didn't he?
No, not even close. So about an hour and a half later, like, look, let's go check on the kids and see how it's going down there. So we go down there and there's nobody in there. The daycare is completely empty except for this one girl who's there. And she says, no, they're out doing stuff on the boat. And she said, depending on which kid you're looking for, I can tell you where they are. So okay, let's go check up on Jack. And she's like, okay, well, he's either doing the scavenger hunt or he's at the behind the scenes thing for the Broadway style show. And we're like, okay, we'll go check on the Broadway style show. She tells us how to get there. We get in there. Sure enough, Jack is him and the other kids from his group are back there. And I get in there and Jack is sitting on the lap of a fully decked out showgirl with double D breasts. And he's got his head resting on her breasts and she's twirling his hair like this. And I'm like he sees this, I'm like, hey, Jack, are you okay? Jack's about 5 at this time. He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Dad.
Solid, Dad. Doing good.
All right, well, hey, we just wanted to come check in. He's like, yeah, I said I'm good. Let's go. Beat it out of here. And so anyhow, the rest of the trip, we didn't really worry about him down in daycare. I think Jack maybe became a man on that trip. I don't know what happened.
It's like, Dad, I'm with the ship now. The sea is my calling. I'm staying on the cruise.
I got a job in the kitchen. Me and Trixie, we're getting married, I think.
No, she really likes me. I swear.
So
All
Jack
right.
joined the Navy is how this story ends.
It all tracks.
I had not made that
tracks.
connection until you said that. Yeah, it's a good call. I don't think she's on his submarine though.
So a family trip that I've done with with my kids is a couple years ago was we went back to Wisconsin and visited my uncle, and during that trip he's in Madison, and we went up to the Dells for a weekend with Bree's father and his husband or his wife, and so Grandpa Tom got to hang out with Langston, and I don't think Marcus was born yet, or if he was just a baby. But we went to the Dells, and when I was a kid, going to the Dells was the thing we did every summer. One of the trips we did every summer, because it's kind of like, and I don't know if this is the best description, but it's kind of like Las Vegas, but for kids. I mean, every block of that place has like there's haunted houses, there's water parks, there's go-karts, there's some roller coasters. I mean, everything. And they're like, you walk down this little boardwalk and there's like a Ripley's Believe It or Not. And all of these kind of just family and kid centered things. And so that's what we did. And it was just really fun for me to relive kind of like a part of my childhood with my new family, like with my wife and our kids. And it's something that I want to do more, because it was really cool to see my daughter, like, as we did things, that she would just light up and she had all this fun and to be on the other side of the equation, so to speak, is obviously all the other stories I've told are when I was a kid, but to have that experience and kind of see her get really excited about those things that I was excited about was really special. And so that's probably we've done a lot of other family trips and seen like our relatives and stuff, but that was one of the first ones where we're going to go do this thing specifically for our kids. And it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think we've done the Disneyland thing a few times, and we've done a few where we've taken like a full weekend and said, this is dedicated to taking our kids to Disneyland and making it about them and doing that. And the most recent time was about 2 years ago that we did. And we got a hotel across the street. We're going to walk. I kind of wanted to splurge and do one of the Disney hotels, but we were right across the street. And so, we had all three at this time, right? We've got a 1-year-old, 1.5-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and what she'd be a 7-year-old at this time, and just doing Disney hard for 3 days, like getting there early, hitting some rides, did California Adventure for the first time with the kids, and, doing some of the rides that I was terrified of doing up until I was a grown adult. But my daughter going on like the big loop, in California Adventure, the Incredicoaster, right? We did the Cars ride. My son was terrified of that. Going on Space Mountain, having the child just gripping your arm through the whole ride, like they were going to get lost. We did the Matterhorn with my son, and it was with my daughter. And the bobsleds kind of go and then they stop. And then they kind of take a look, and her seatbelt wasn't going in. And the lady was about to give the thumbs up. I'm like, whoa, hold up. She's not fastened in yet. And she's like, okay, hold up, and made sure and I'm like, thinking as a father, I almost lost my daughter to the Matterhorn that day, had that not been fixed. All those little things about going on those rides, and then just walking around that place as it gets busier and busier and busier. But, I can see why some people hate Disneyland, because it's so busy. There's so many people, but, I just found it was so fun. Like Jake said, I've been there as a child. I've been there as a young adult without children. Now I'm there as a father. It's a whole different show when your kids get to experience it. And It's a Small World, one of the best rides if you've got kids.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I remember. Okay, that was another thing I remember when I was a kid doing the It's a Small World, and I thought it was great, but now I'm like, was it that great? Like,
as a parent sitting in there with my kids, again, of a certain age, and every turn you make, it's a whole different region, and you're looking at things, you're seeing things, and the kids they're finding things that I haven't seen before. They're pointing, and that's enjoyable.
But they literally sing that song.
No, I know.
Incessantly. End to end. It doesn't stop.
I understand that.
Okay.
But the kids enjoy it, and that's a fun ride to enjoy with my kids. Now, I don't think we'll be able to do it again, because by the next time we go, my daughter will be old enough where she'll probably think it's dumb. But seeing them young pointing at, oh, there's Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. There's, what is that? What is that? Just, it's a whole different thing when your kids are interested. So when we've been able to do that, it's been a blast.
And I remember, I think when you posted this, whatever it was, a few years ago, and you posted basically what you said, and you go, I've been to Disneyland quite a bit, but watching my kids do it, it was a whole new experience. And it really is. And I think that's one of the joys of parenthood, so to speak, is to see what was old to you, new to them. And I think that's been really fun as our kids are growing and discovering stuff with us. So one of the adventures we have coming up soon, Jake, back in November, we drove to Arizona, did the Dad Bod road trip to bring the trailer back. So we have my parents' old pop-up tent trailer that I finally got registered. Yeah. And so now we're hopefully going to start taking that on camping trips, which is, again, something I experienced in that very same trailer as a young man, as a teenager, that we can probably get the kids into and start enjoying that piece. So. Yeah. Speaking of that, what was, as you said, with the camping, like a lot of my childhood, we would go camping in the summer. We would go to the UP in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, and go camping up there for like a week or so. And then my dad had the Quonset hut cabin, and we would go up there, which was, like I said, rustic is a generous term. And it just, whereas the Dells or Disney World or the Carnival Cruise, those are all like destinations. But one of the trips I remember doing with my dad was, it was a family reunion, Orion's family reunion up at like Wildcat Mountain in like southwestern Wisconsin. And me and my dad went up there by ourselves to meet with the family. We had a little campsite, and my dad's like showing me how to build the fire. And he went with the log cabin style, Lincoln Logs, and he built it up like 3 feet of logs. And then he puts a bunch of lighter fluid onto it and lights it, and it's just ball of flame shoots up, does the whole, burns his eyebrows and burns the front of his face. And so he looked like a surprised man the rest of the weekend at the family reunion. Awesome. One of my favorite moments, because my dad was like, he was like master of his domain. Like, I always had this vision of him as like, he's always in control and he could do anything, but he had these surprised eyebrows for a weekend. And it was just hysterical to me, because it was one of the few times where he was caught unawares, and it was awesome. So I don't know, just popped into my head.
Yeah, we did a lot of camping too. Tent camping for many years. And then I think my mom just kind of nudged my dad, said, I'm not camping in tents anymore. Get a tent trailer. Yeah. So that we ended up with a tent trailer. And a lot of like family trips with other families. And I remember all I wanted to do was play with fire. Mm-hmm. Let me start the fire. Let me poke at the fire. I got the fire under control.
Yeah.
Let me borrow some lighter fluid too, Dad. So
I've got a story that kind of speaks to the power of the family vacation. At one point, this would have been a few years after the cruise, where Jack met the showgirl back there. We had the idea to talk to kids and hey, listen, we're going to not do presents anymore, and we're going to do a family vacation instead. And the kids' initial reaction was like, whoa, hey, whoa, this is what are you talking about? Like, no Christmas presents? This is insane. Like, all right, fine. Hey, hang on. Listen, let's just do this. Let's talk about the cruise. You remember the cruise? Of course, everybody remembers the cruise. What do you guys remember from the cruise? And literally, we sat out in the backyard for an hour and we're talking about the cruise and going over this and that and our little shore excursions. And this funny thing happened at dinner. And the cruise was 2 years old at that point. And it's like, all right, that's great. So at the end of that, like telling all those stories, I go, okay, now anybody tell me a present that anybody else got for Christmas last year. And it's just crickets. Like they're like, Jack goes, a book. I go, come on. Somebody always gets a book. Like what book? Who got it? He's like,
did you read it? Yeah.
He's like, I don't know. So anyhow, amazingly, and the kids at that point, like, I think we're like 6 and 9 and 13 or something. They willingly and legitimately bought into, okay, we'll forego Christmas presents for family vacations instead every year. And that's what we did. So Christmas presents from then on out we would usually travel during Christmas and we did all kinds of stuff like that. And the kids would get like one gift, but it wasn't the whole like, and you get an Xbox and you get a hoverboard and you get a DVD player. And it wasn't all that stuff. It was, I think the kids would get pajamas and a book or something like that. But yeah, we spent the rest of the money on family vacations. And like on the way home tonight, I called my daughter and I said, hey, I need some more ideas for funny stuff that happened, some more family stories. And it's a 45-minute drive. And she was on the other end of the phone. Part of the time she couldn't breathe. She's laughing so hard, telling these stories. And some of her buddies are there with her. And anyhow, that's the power of the family vacation, man. It's a great time and it's a special thing.
Well, and it's funny because as you guys are talking and you would say different things that you'd experienced as kids or as parents. And I came into this with like, well, here's the 3 I want to talk about. And I hit 2 of them. I didn't talk about one, but as we were going through this, 4 more popped up. Then I'm like, oh yeah. And I did this and this and this. And like, I think that's, like you said, Jeff, is vacations and not just vacations, but anything where it's like a family event. Those are what sticks with you, right? Like I remember very few gifts I received as a kid. And they were exceptional gifts. But I remember a whole lot of family vacations. And I think that's what makes it so cool is that those are the memories you can carry on with you. And then as we have had our kids, we try to create those same memories or new ones with our kids. And it's and not to be trite, but it is a gift that keeps giving. I think that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's there's a work. It's hard work to do that, but it is so much more worth it because I know how many gifts my kids get for Christmas and things, and I know how many of those things nobody even knows where they are, what they were, and they're just in piles somewhere. And
yeah, but.
We could talk about our Disney trip. We went to a cabin last year and stayed for a weekend. We could have those memories, those things that, yeah, we've still got them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got stories, you got pictures. It's super valuable. It's family treasure, man. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good spot to at least wrap up this episode. Jeff, Eric, thanks for sharing. This was a really good one. Brought back a lot of good memories for me. And I learned about a whole other Jeff and his seedy Eastern European underlife. And it's awesome. So
we'll work on the script for that movie. I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think Liam Neeson could still pick, he could play a young Jeff Peterson if anybody.
It may have to be based on actual events. We may have to change a thing or two, but let's see what we got.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. Starting next month, we're going to do a series on the Russo-Japanese War, which is something that Eric and I have been researching for a month or two, and it's really fascinating. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Also, like, subscribe, follow. We hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. We cracked the 3-digit mark. It's awesome. I think we're sitting at 103. So thank you, everybody that's joined us recently, and thank you, everybody, Janice, that unsubscribed and resubscribed so she could be the 100th subscriber.
You know, my
And,
dad also claimed to be a 100th subscriber. We hit 100 three different times.
There's a story, the Ice Bowl, the Packers ended the Ice Bowl in 1967 against the Cowboys. And there's more people that'll say that they attended that game than there were tickets sold. And I think that's what we had here is a little situation is we have multiple people claiming to be the 100th subscriber. But whoever you are, thank you for subscribing. And like, subscribe, follow, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies. Thank you very much. And we'll see you all next time.
See you guys.